So chapter 3 is rocks and minerals. And this is going to be the first time we're going to be doing some hands-on stuff in lab. So those of you who had me this morning, we started to learn a little bit about minerals this morning. We're going to get into the hands-on stuff with rocks and minerals starting Tuesday. So Tuesday for like the next 3 weeks, we're going to just be looking at rocks. You're going to be able to pick up basically any mineral or any rock that I have around, and you're going to be able to tell me its name. That's what we're going to be doing for the next few weeks.
How many labs are we doing this year?
20 something. So we're going to start minerals. And this first page is for the definition of a mineral. So learning exactly what a mineral is. But to get ready for lab, I actually want to start on pages 2 and 3, which will talk about, well, once you have a mineral, how do you learn what it is?
You look it up.
Well, you look it up. So where would we be looking stuff up in this class? So Google's a great choice, but you can't use Google. So what's our best alternative? Your reference table. Everybody grab your reference table. I had asked you to pick it up and just flip it to the back cover, please. So the title of this page of the reference table is Properties of Common Minerals. So on here, you'll see, I think it's 20 something minerals here. These are all minerals that are common in New York State. For the most part, most of these could be found like in your backyard. And if not in your backyard, in somebody's backyard in New York State. And it wouldn't be like, whoa, look at this cool rock. It's going to be very common to see rocks like this around some of New York State. So one thing you might notice is diamonds are not listed on here. Diamonds are a mineral, not super common. So these are just ones that are common around New York State and the United States in general. So it's called Properties of Common Minerals. What's a property? An attribute. What's that mean? What? Something it has. So you could talk about the properties of my, 10 students that showed up today? I could say, well, my students, a lot of students are wearing sweatshirts. So wearing a sweatshirt could be a property of you guys. I could look around at shoes and I could say, we've got sneakers versus boots. We've got black shoes versus white shoes. Those are all properties of you guys. I could separate you by your hair color or your hair length. Those are all properties of you guys. What are some properties of some minerals that I could put up here? Here's a mineral, here's a mineral, here's a mineral, minerals. One thing that you right off the bat see are different colors of minerals. What are some other things you might? Shapes. Toughness, how tough they are. Those are all good ways of looking at these minerals and kind of being able to, just like if I wanted to separate all the kids wearing hoodies from anything else, I could do that. I could separate these by their color or their shape or their toughness. And that's exactly what they have done on this reference table. Take a look at this reference table. What are some of the properties that they must be using to put them in order or put them into groups? Color, yep, color is right there. So color, they look at the color of the minerals.
Characteristics.
Distinguishing characteristics, which down this column, if you read, they talk about a thing called streak or a greasy feel. They talk about density. Some of them are magnetic. Some have another greasy feel.
How much do they use?
They do on here talk about their uses. But what are some other properties? What do you think the first property they have used? It's not going to be hardness. It's actually their luster. So this table, do you guys remember using a dichotomous key last year? Those of you who went, you did go here, right? You in New York State? Did you take living environment? Then you did. So a dichotomous key, do you guys remember what you did with it? The most famous dichotomous key you used last year? Do you remember? I couldn't hear you. Oh, okay. I was in that class, but who was that? Both of them? Both teachers did the action figure? Or was that just, who'd you have? Job for lab?
Mr. Klaus.
Mr. Klaus did it too? Okay. I didn't remember that one because I wasn't there, but how about the bird beak one?
Yeah.
You guys remember that? Do you remember what you did for the bird beak?
Yeah.
Seeds. Seeds. So it was something about picking up ability to pick up seeds, right? Something like that. How did they get separated? By their beak shape. And I don't remember exactly how the lab goes, but you could say if a bird had this shaped beak and ate these kinds of seeds, then it must be this kind of bird, right? Do you remember doing that? In the end, you were able to tell me what bird it was? Something like that? That's this. Just not with birds now. This is a dichotomous key, organized a little bit different than you might have done with the bird beak one. But it starts by separating them by their properties, just like beak shape. Now we're separating them by their luster first. Then we separate them by their hardness. So they first go, well, are they metallic or non-metallic? And then they get organized by their hardness. Then we've got these features called cleavage or fracture, which we're going to learn about it in a little bit. You can see they identify whether they have cleavage by a check mark on that side or fracture with a check mark on that side. Then they talk about color and then distinguishing characteristics. Not quite as straightforward as shapes of beaks though. So let's get started in our notes and we're going to learn what these characteristics are. I'm sure you can figure out some of them, like what's color? The color of it. That one's pretty easy, but I bet you guys don't know yet, unless you've been in lab, what cleavage and fracture is. You can probably try and guess what hardness is, but you'll only be kind of right, I bet. So let's get started in our notes. We're going to start right at the top of page 2, and it says properties of minerals. What are the properties of minerals straight off of the reference table? Okay, let's, yep. So you're going too fast for me. Luster. So where are we getting these from? Right along the top of the reference table.
Hardness.
Hardness. Yep, it's cleavage or fracture. We're just going to call that breakage. So it's really how they break. Yep.
Color.
Color.
And then.
Yep. Then distinguishing if you can't see what I'm writing or I just wrote way too messy, where did we get them from? All right there. This is kind of the messiest I would ever write. It's kind of it's stressing me out that it's that messy.
Then how do you view my face?
I'm good at reading them, just not writing them. So the next thing is mineral properties are determined by. So what caused the mineral to have a certain color? What caused it to have a certain luster or a certain breakage? These are all determined by chemistry and a little bit of physics. So what do I mean? They are all determined by how the atoms, you guys remember atoms from like 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, the tiniest particles? So we're going to go with a mineral's properties are determined by how the atoms are arranged. I'll write that down. So whether it had what color it is, whether it's gray or white or silver, and whether it has cleavage or fracture or how hard it is all determined by how the individual atoms are put together inside that mineral. This has a fancy name because of course it has a fancy way that the Regents describes it. They call it the internal arrangement of atoms. So that's, I'm going to give a star, and that's called internal. So internal arrangements of atoms is how a mineral gets its properties. So not by what it's made out of, but by how those pieces are arranged on the inside of that mineral. So like I was saying, so some of them are pretty easy to understand. The color, you get it. Is it purple? Is it blue? Is it white? Is it silver? Done, that's the color. But what the heck is luster? What exactly is hardness? What is cleavage and fracture is what we're gonna spend the rest of today doing. So I've actually set this up slightly different than I've ever set up notes for you today. I don't want to talk to you anymore. No, that's not it. I don't want to have to make you listen to me anymore. How about that? So what I've done is I've kind of set up some stations. And because this one requires you to actually look at minerals and hold them and touch them, maybe even smell them. So because it requires you to actually do some hands-on stuff, I don't want to just be up here and say, hey, look at this mineral. So I've set up stations around the room, and the stations kind of look like this. So every station has a folder. This is the luster folder. In fact, there's two in case there's a lot of people at one table. So there's a folder. Inside the folder are two pieces of paper, a top one and a bottom one. Every single station, the top one has a bunch of reading. What do you think I want you to do with that reading?
Throw it out?
No. I actually want you to read it. And I will say, I think this one is the one with the most reading. So here's another one for street over here. Well, I guess they all have a decent amount. So you will read. It's a paragraph or so. So that's the top half. Then on the bottom half, it spells out on your worksheet. So that's this packet. So here's the packet for luster. It says define luster. Where do you think you're going to find the definition of luster?
In the reading.
Right there in the reading, okay? So you're going to define luster, then you're going to define metallic and define non-metallic. Then this one has, at that station in the back there, it's got a basket of minerals. And I want you to take those minerals and arrange them into two groups based on luster. And again, you'll kind of do that through the reading. Then you're going to call me or Mr. D over, and we're going to talk about the luster, like, did you do a good job? We're going to help you fix them if you didn't get them. So I want you to be looking at luster at this station. Then the next table over, again, will be hardness. There'll be a reading, and then some directions of what to do. Again, with that one, Mr. D and I are going to come over at some point while you're back there and have a little chat about hardness. So this is just a way of doing notes where you can actually touch the rocks and handle them and experiment with them instead of me just standing up here and saying, trust me, this one has a hardness of 2. Okay, you're going to be learning what that is and how you figure it out at these individual stations. Did you have something to say?
Not stretching.
Just stretching this time. So I'm not sure. I'm thinking we won't get through all of them today.
We do 2 of them.
We're going to get through as many as we can today. There are officially 6 stations. We're definitely not getting to the 6th one until Monday, but we can at least try to get through as many as we can today. So just because I know that one, I've never been able to do it all together. So what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to break you up into groups. You're going to get the notes, and then you are going to you're going to do it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So here's how this is going to work. So there's 5 stations. There's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 of you. So we're going to go 2 people at a station. I don't think so.
Why not?
because this is not my first day.
Me and Zach actually work good together. You see some that.
Yeah, I've seen you not get your work done.
No, why you're always the first one done? That's
Zach and Carter, go over there. Does anybody else need a partner, or can I do the rest? Any of you else want to pick your partner? I can handle it. Go ahead. Anybody else? 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait, what do I want to do? How about, yeah, you two, go ahead. You two, and you two. Perfect. You two come up here. That's perfect. Other than Zach and Carter, everybody else just got paired up. That's all. So, yeah, Destiny and Keith, your station's right here. There are 2 packets, so you can read together or separate. So again, guys, just in case you're not sure what you're doing, you're reading first, then doing, and then talking to Mr. D and I before you are done. In the end, you're going to have notes on page 2. So here's the notes from page 2, and you'll end up with notes for page 3. No, you won't have any homework tonight, by the way.